Why did the Jewish religious leaders of Jesus' time reject his teachings and also his claims to divine status?
When the Jewish people come back out of Babylon, a new group of people emerged within the Jewish people, and they are the teachers of the law. They didn't exist before that, they exist after that time. They then become the Pharisees and the rabbis of the time of Jesus. They have created a whole new law. At the time it's called the sayings of the Father, or the traditions of the elders, in Hebrew, Pirkavot, and it leads into the Mishnah, the rabbinical writings. And they've created lots of laws. By the time of Jesus, there are hundreds of laws about the Sabbath alone. Because Jesus rejected those rabbinical laws, they said no to him. And so Jewish people said no because they followed the rabbis rather than followed their own conscience. Now, not all of them did. Nicodemus is one of them that decided to investigate separately. But that kind of investigation we see both with John the Baptist, where they investigate him and say, are you significant, are you insignificant? Hey, what do we do here? Do we respond? When they respond to Jesus, very quickly on, you see that Jesus rejects rabbinical law, the Mishnaic law, the sayings and the traditions of the elders, and that they then in turn respond in kind and say no to him. So a large proportion of the Jewish people followed the rabbis. There was another proportion of the people that were with the Sanhedrin and that follows in the same direction. The Sanhedrin, though, was split in two. You had the priestly class within that followed the Sadducees. They reject Jesus not on the basis of rabbinical law, because they couldn't care about rabbinical law. But they followed Jesus because they had a vested interest. Annas, who's the high priest, really made a bazaar out of the temple. He made it into a marketplace. He installed his sons and sons-in-law, and really it was blind robbery and usury and you name it. For a temple, for the house of God, it was a terrible thing. Jesus made very strong statements, and twice he goes into the temple, once at the beginning of his ministry, once near the end, and overturns the table of the money changers and says, hey, this is the wrong thing to do. So they rejected Jesus because he didn't affirm their authority. But in both cases, that's what it is. It's, do you affirm my authority? And Jesus said no to the Sadducees, no to the Pharisees. He established a new authority, and the authority really wasn't that new. It was the biblical authority that we have, that you and I have. Jesus then says, this is the authority of God that we should live by, rather than your rules and their rules. The sad thing is that Jewish people back then rejected him. Now the Sadducees have died out. They've come and gone, and they're no longer with us. The Pharisees, though, became the rabbis of today, and their traditions have grown, and so they've built commentary upon commentary upon commentary. They now follow only their own commentary and not biblical law. They are now in the 7th generation of writing commentary upon commentary. That may be a strange sounding thing, but we write commentary on the Bible. That initial commentary is then called the Talmud, and then there's another group that comments on that, and another group that comments on that commentary, and another group that comments on that commentary. So today they are far removed from scriptural authority. Their authority still comes from themselves. Now, one of the most vocal spokesmen for Rabbinic Judaism would be Rabbi Boiteach, for instance. And he basically said this: anybody can be the Messiah except Jesus. And really what he's saying is this: Judaism is about one thing, it's not Jesus. Whatever we may believe, it's one thing, but not him. And it's based on that same authority structure. Rather than go back to Scripture, it's based on rabbinical authority. And Jesus rejected that, and that's why they rejected Jesus. It's an issue that we have to deal with. Slowly and surely we'll come across that much more. Most Jewish people are not interested, because when you come with a difficult Bible question, they'll say, I'll ask the rabbi. And so when you come with Daniel 9, for instance, or Micah 5, they'll say, well, let me check with my rabbi. And they still accept the authority of the rabbi rather than read the text for themselves.
Okay.
What we need to do is say, no, what is it that you say? Don't ask them. I just want to know what you say, and create that dialogue. But that's more related to the previous question.
Yeah.
Most Jewish people will say, don't know, let's ask the rabbi. And we follow their authority and their rules. Jewish people suffer under a leadership complex. And in the Old Testament, that's seen in the judges and in the kings and in the prophets. Today, that's under the rabbis. When we had good judges and good kings, we did right. When we had bad people leading, we did wrong. Today, we follow rabbis who follow their own authority rather than Scripture. And they're not the same.